Welcome everyone to Press Start. My name is Darsay and I hope you are all having a wonderful week. So with this video, we are going to be doing something new here on Press Start, where I'm going to be doing a roundtable discussion with some of my gamer friends about the things that are going on around the gaming industry and news that is, of course, affecting gaming. So we're going to be doing this different times around the, times that news gets dropped, but in this episode, we're going to be bringing on a familiar face, even though his face is not going to be on for this time. But you guys know him and love him, maybe hate him, I don't know. But he is my co-host for The Rift, and we're bringing in Kairu Gloria. Kyle, how are you doing?
I'm good. It's good to be back. As you said, I was co-hosting on the Rift. I'm just excited for this discussion on the next gen, on what's to come and what the future holds.
Yeah, and I'm really glad to bring you back and talk something a little different than League of Legends stuff that we normally get to discuss together on this when we're always talking about gamings off of this. But speaking of another person that I talk a lot of video games with, he is a familiar face on YouTube, not for me, but on his own YouTube channel with another friend of ours, and that is the man that I call Black Jesus, and that is Harrison Hatsuma Dunn. Hatsuma, introduce yourself.
Hello. I'm Hatsuma, hailing from Planet Wu, where we discuss various anime, various geek culture, and gaming alike. Damn.
Hey, no, that's completely fine, man. I appreciate it. I know that obviously, again, just for people with background information, is we've been friends for a long time and discussed video game news and stuff at great length together. And actually, one of our discussions on a recent thing is what sparked this whole, idea of creating this. If you guys don't mind, I think let's get right into the discussion points, things that we wanted to talk about. And so the first discussion point is, Xbox held their gameplay showcase about 2 weeks now, almost 2 weeks ago. And with the Xbox Series X gameplay discussion or the showcase, there was a mixed bag online of what the showcase hyped up what was going to be shown and then what we actually got. And so I guess let's kind of start there, and we'll fill the discussion from that point. But I'll start with you, Hatsuma, because me and you were talking about this at great length prior to it. So Hatsuma, what was your overall take of the Xbox Series X showcase about 2 weeks ago?
I feel like it was overhyped. And the main reason why I say that is because there is a lot of expectation for the next gen. And what we saw at that showcase were cross-gen titles. And, I mean, if they had just promoted as a regular inside Xbox, or hell, didn't say anything at all, I honestly think it would have blown over better. I think that I feel like this being the first showcase of next-gen gaming, quote-unquote, you put an immense amount of pressure on these smaller studios. And in that regard, it's like it was a bad show, in my opinion. Like, why I shouldn't say it was a bad show, but I feel like if this was a regular show, it would have been fine. They shouldn't have promoted the next gen event because it was just too much pressure. Like, everyone, all of the gamers, they just wanted to see next gen games. And that's what helped the likes of Sony's Unreal Showcase, even though it wasn't a game.
And real quick, just kind of going off of that and stuff, one thing I just want to get before I have Kyle jump in on this is, were you disappointed in the, as you kind of said, like the next gen, I guess, gameplay aspects of it, or were you disappointed in the games that were shown off? Just to help like clarify for those that are listening.
I honestly, the games were fine. I think if they didn't promote it, like, say if they just put this online, self-dropped it, you didn't bring any attention to this event, it would have blown over much better. But because you're saying this is the first showcase of next-gen gameplay from third parties, you put an immense amount of pressure on these studios. Because, like, the games that were shown, Bright Memory, that looked great. I'm trying to recall the other game. The Vampire Masquerade, that looked great. Nexus, that looked great. But the problem is that a lot of these games shown were games that obviously could perform on the systems we had now. So you really had to deliver that wow factor. Like, holy shit, this next gen. And they didn't do that with those games.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, in other circumstances, the games were fine. Like, they're absolutely fine. And anybody who tries to completely dismiss them, you're wrong. The thing is, they should not have promoted this as the true next-gen or the first next-gen case. Because you dialed up expectations of what we're going to see.
Yeah.
That's an honest fact.
Yeah.
Because the games were cool. Like, the games were, for the most part, like, I can see myself playing Chorus. Oh, you've already heard me on numerous occasions that I'm extremely hyper by Axis or Nexus. Bright Memory looks really good. But, like I said, when you put suddenly the next-gen expectations, then it's like, well, one, these are all cross-gen games, so how is the next-gen? Like, what's next-gen?
Yeah. Kyle, because you haven't gotten to kind of say anything, and I know me and you had discussions about this as well. What was your thoughts or sentiments coming out of the Xbox showcase?
Looking back on it, what had did stay, it seems like it is a promotion issue, like the way they advertise it and coming out with it about being next gen gaming. That I do agree on, because I mean, I enjoyed the games because I'm super excited for Vampire Masquerade, and there was a couple others that looked like game wise looked fun and entertaining. But every generation we've had, we get this issue too. They're talking about, oh, here's our showcase for what's going to be coming out for this next gen. And it's always a little soon. Like, people aren't completely prepared. And as he was saying, promoting this as supposed to be in fully next gen and what have you. And yeah, there are games that's going to be coming out for next gen, but I think you save that hype promotion for what's to come on their next showing. Yeah, until, like, say they're exclusive, like they're supposed to be coming in July. They're having their next showing, and it's supposed to be more towards their own. And that's where hopefully we see some bigger announcements, and hopefully we get more of the inners of the gameplay and stuff. And I think it was a promotional issue, and like I said, I think it's an issue too where every generation that comes, we get that issue where it's a bit early still. And
Blues.
Yeah, you're still not completely there yet. And even these developers, with everything going on right now, they're all working from home. like there's might be some touch-ups and everything else that they just have not been able to fully get around to because they're working at home alone, so it's got to go from this person to this person to this person. So you're coming into issues there, but as Has said, it could be like more of a promotion issue there on calling it next gen. But games wise, like I said, nothing wrong with the games.
Yeah, I mean, getting.
Right.
Oh, go ahead, Hatsuma. You wanted to say something?
No, I was just gonna say medium looked great. I mean to interrupt.
Oh no, you're completely fine. So, I mean, just kind of giving my 2 cents on it. So the first thing is, of course, for those that can't see, and I'm gonna pull it over here on the video, is that currently the dislikes on that video, I know it's been 2 weeks, so it's not really growing at the moment, but there's 35,000 dislikes to only 27,000 likes. And a lot of people, of course, in the comments section talked about the fact that, this wasn't really gameplay. There wasn't a whole lot of stuff that were going on with this video. And I think that's my biggest issue, and which is going to transition into one of our other discussion points here in a second. But when I thought about that showcase initially, and Hatsuma and I were talking extensively on it, is I felt a lot of people overhyped it themselves, simply just because of the fact that Xbox never said something along the lines of that it's going to be like mind-blowing X, Y, and Z, or things you've never seen before. Like, all they said was, hey, we're going to do this showcase and we're going to show off the first set of gameplay on the new Xbox Series X. And it's like, they technically did that. Now, I'm going to, of course, again, in the next discussion, talk about why I don't like the fact that they use the term gameplay. But they did show off games. Yeah, they did show off games that were on the Xbox Series X. They showed what you're going to be able to play on it. To my knowledge, there were the ones that did show what I'm going to, and obviously you're going to hear my sentiments now, but the ones that I would term actual gameplay were running on the Xbox Series X. So, like, you did get to see what the game looks like when it runs on the Xbox Series X. But I do agree in the sense, though, of that they should have been more clear with their messaging on what this was going to be. Like, what we were going to be seeing with this. Because what they did, in a sense, was basically go, hey, guys, you're going to get to see gameplay. But then when we got to see the games and stuff, we were left to have whatever excitement came to our mind because of them not putting out a clearer message of what we were going to be seeing, which, of course, Xbox did understand and take back from that. And they said that they're going to be making sure they deliver a more clear message in their upcoming reveals or showcases. And that's where I just feel from, a marketing standpoint, they failed. But I don't feel that they overhyped it, only because they didn't actually say much besides, hey, like, we're going to be showing you the first reveal of the games. It was because they didn't give a clearer message that it led to the overhyping of it. Is there anything you guys want to, say off of that?
Well, I was going to say that they did have Twitter messages where they were like, yeah, tune in now to see a first taste of a game, like next-gen gameplay. It's just alerting. Like, I think, what's his name? Greenberg said it best. Well, shit, literally don't even promote the event. You shouldn't have promoted it. You should have just self-dropped it. I think that would have went over better. Me personally.
Kyle, you want to say anything off that?
What it sounds like from all of us, for the most part, promotion wise, it's just it's what people basically what people fed, the way that everybody single-handedly fed off of what they were saying. Like, everybody takes everything differently, and I mean, I think no matter what, stuff's going to be extremely overhyped right now because of this next gen. We're getting like legit mini PCs coming out. Like, so people are hyped. We're getting SSDs in these consoles. And somebody that's a PC player and pretty much have converted at complete PC, it is exciting seeing the new technology going into the system, the stuff. So if you promote anything right now, I will say it's probably going to end up getting overhyped by many, and sometimes could lead to the disappointment. But I mean, it's all
That's
personal.
why I feel like you shouldn't promote it. You shouldn't promote it.
Overall, though, I feel Xbox side of things, Microsoft marketing has been amazing, and then the coming out with the gameplay, this has been kind of a little setback for them, as Dar was saying. They've come out and they said they'll fix this, and they'll do better next time. But it's gonna get hyped no matter what, because people are looking forward to these new systems.
Yeah.
And we'll get to the factor of like the marketing standpoints here in a little bit. But I do kind of want to go into the next thought, or the next point that we wanted to talk about, was the term gameplay. So obviously this has been a big a point of contention recently, not only because of the Xbox Series X showcasing, but just in general, what some of the companies that did propose things that were going to be shown here, and of course that one company in particular, Ubisoft, said heading into that showcase. And now we're talking about the term gameplay. So again, just to kind of set the scene, if you don't know, Xbox Series X, when they did this showcase 2 weeks ago, they talked about that this was the first set of gameplay for various games. And the one that was very, very hyped was Assassin's Creed Valhalla. They said that you're going to have your first chance of gameplay from that. And Kyle, I want you to kind of talk about you start the discussion, I guess I should say. What was your thoughts or your sentiments hearing the term being, we're going to show you gameplay, and then you got to see what was shown for Assassin's Creed? So go ahead and take it over.
Definite disappointment in that, especially I'm personally not an Assassin's Creed fan, but I really like Norse, and I seen it's Vikings, and they mentioned Odin and stuff. I was excited to see what this gameplay could represent. And then coming in here, it's like, oh, here's your first look in Assassin's Creed for gameplay, and then it just looked like your everyday trailer you would see on the television. That's extremely disappointing. Not being able to see what you would normally see is a little run through of a certain part in the game, just to kind of give you a feel. This is what the actual play feels like. Here's what the combat feels like. Here's different things that you could do in previous Assassin's Creed that we've actually took it to the next level, and now you can do this on top of this, and just different aspects and mechanics of the game. But what we essentially got was, I don't know, it was little mini cutscenes of the game, like little cutscenes of cutscenes within the game. And here's the graphics of it, but we're showing it like I said, the cutscene of it, and it made it very awkward. And I was hoping like, oh wait, maybe I was thinking personally, okay, maybe they're showing this little bit, and then like the developer will come out and be like, okay, here's your new this is AC, and here's we're gonna take you in now to a little bit deeper look into the actual gameplay, and they never did, and that was extremely disappointing to me.
Yeah, I mean, everyone that watches the channel saw I posted my thoughts on the Xbox Series X gameplay, and I literally said at the end of the what I expected was just the trailer. I said, okay, now we get to see the gameplay, right? And it wasn't. And I was so thrown off by that because to me, like, yes, I understand that by definition, that was gameplay. That is the game, like how it looks in game. Like it's not a cinematic cutscene. Those were like in game things, but that's not gameplay. And I don't know if you agree with me, Hatsuma, but I'm gonna have you kind of start from there. Is like to you, what is gameplay?
Gameplay is just simply demonstrating the game. I don't understand why is that a lost concept. It was pretty much that's what blows me away when I see a lot of Sony demonstrations, because when they demonstrate gameplay, what they do is they do a whole cinematic trailer, and you're like, damn, this shit looks incredible. Then what happens? They pan behind the character, and you start controlling. You start to see the gameplay unravel. You see the loop. That, like, the Assassin's Creed. The Assassin's Creed drew so many feelings out of me, especially because, one, like Kyle, I've not been hyped for Assassin's Creed in years. This one, I'm actually willing to give it. Number two, you kept promoting, like, if you rewatch the broadcast, you see it at the bottom the entire time, them saying, oh, keep watching this. We'll be showing the Assassin's Creed gameplay soon. So they had the hook the entire time to get you to watch this showcase.
And real quick, Hatsuma, I'll have you keep going, but just so that the viewers know, I'm now showing some gameplay of Ghost of Tsushima to kind of showcase what you were talking about how the difference in just displaying gameplay.
Yeah.
So keep going and talking about your stuff, but I just wanted to get that out for the viewers.
Yeah, and you can show the old Horizon footage. Like, literally, no one could believe they thought it was going to get downgraded. They thought it was bullshit. It was a trailer from Sony. That was the gameplay. Cut and dry, to the point. Like, some of the things that happened in that trailer or that demonstration actually literally happened to me in the game. So that's why I'm trying to understand, why is this a lost concept now? Just show me a damn demonstration. Last of Us 2 had a demonstration. Ghost of Tsushima had a demonstration. There is no way at this point you can confuse what people want, because the expectations have already been set. Like, the expectations have already been set a long time ago. So when we want to see gameplay, just demonstrate it. What exactly are we doing? How is the loop going to go? Let's see the world. The thing is, they say, I anticipate that there were gameplay snippets in that trailer, but you don't know for certain. You can only assume. I want to see in person. Like, the one thing about the tech demo that a lot of people underrate, they tried to shit on it and say, well, it's just a tech demo. It was gameplay. People can, like, each person can control the character. Like, you control what was happening. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I don't understand that. I don't understand how gameplay, the logic, the concept of it has been lost.
Kyle, what are your thoughts on that? You know, the idea that the sentiment or the idea behind gameplay, at least from these companies, seems to be lost. What's your thoughts?
I could almost agree. I agree for the most part, because of the fact that even if you go back and look at E3, what's E3 like? What did E3 become at eventually? We got nothing. Like, there's a few games we get some actual look into the games during the showing, like they're big, like here's Sony showing, here's Microsoft showing, but essentially most of it ended up being just these massive CG trailers for these games. And a lot of releases now is here's your game trailers, here's these trailers, but like you got to really search, it feels like, to get in depth like one-on-one gameplay interviews nowadays. Um and, and if you're going to promote gameplay, it should be like in the showcase, like Bright, we got to see a little bit of the movement. You got to see that little bit of the game there. So like, okay, this is fast paced. It has wall running, kind of like Titanfall. It has this and that. Like it gave you a feel of it. Where Assassin's Creed was just straight up trailer. So it's like trailer feel, anyways. And like you said, like when I think gameplay, I want to see what I would be seeing on screen with a controller in my hand. Like that, to me, that's gameplay.
Exactly.
Yeah, and kind of going, like, I guess playing a little bit of a devil's advocate to you, Kyle, is typically the first release, yes, you don't see gameplay or like when they're announcing it and stuff, but as time goes on, you start to see actual gameplay. I mean, the ones that definitely come to my mind is like Watch Dogs. They showed actual gameplay. Ubisoft did that when they showed off that game. With Rainbow Six Siege, they eventually showed off gameplay. Division, they showed off gameplay. Thinking back to like on PlayStation side, as you said, like originally it wasn't anything of, it was just cinematic stuff, but then like The Last of Us 2 got on stage 2 years ago, and that was actual in-game gameplay. Technically, Ghost of Tsushima, we did get to see a short, small little bit of gameplay when there was that battle in front of the the forest with the yellow leaves and stuff. Like there is some, but you're right. Like a lot of the trailers do end up becoming cinematics. But I mean, I will say, I agree completely with you guys, like full-heartedly. Like when I hear gameplay, my first thought is almost basically it's a demo. It's a demo. It's a demonstration of like what is the game going to be like when I'm playing that game. What is my, essentially my like day in day out handlings, and that wasn't what was shown really at all in the Xbox showcase. There were, of course, like in-game cutscenes and stuff, and like that's cool. I totally like that. But when I think of like what was actual like in-game play, like a gameplay to me doing the Xbox showcase, Bright Memory Infinite, as you guys said, like that was like, okay, that's gameplay. Like, yes, I don't get to have somebody explaining what's going on, and I don't get to see the button controls, but like that was still gameplay to me. The Ascent had a little bit of gameplay when you saw them, kind of like the twin stick shooter of them running around, and you got to see like kind of what the game is doing when you're in that game. So like that was that. Scarlet Nexus was technically like there were times where it was slight insights of gameplay, but it wasn't like full on gameplay, but I still would technically call that gameplay. But then like the Medium, that was not gameplay. Scorn, that was not gameplay. I'm trying to think of another one that kind of comes to mind. Technically, like even though we know what the gameplay looks like, technically Denver? Yakuza Like a Dragon didn't even show off like actual gameplay there. And, and it's like we know what the gameplay looks like, so I wasn't upset about that, but it was still just like that's not gameplay either. Like I don't know why you're calling this gameplay. And Kotaku had an article out about this, that like this isn't the first time that Ubisoft has done this. Ubisoft has done this several times in the past, that they went back and they looked at their YouTube videos, and it was saying, hey, here's the first reveal of gameplay, and it was what you saw kind of in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. So I wonder, not trying to say this is the case because obviously Xbox showcase proved that it's not just the case, but like, is the term gameplay, I guess, a different term for each company? Because if that's the case, then that's why, like, you guys were talking about Sony when they do gameplay, like, it's a different showing and stuff, versus, of course, like, Ubisoft again has done this in the past. And obviously now you kind of, if that is the case, you think Xbox has the same mindset as Ubisoft when it comes to what does the term gameplay mean. That's open for either of you guys talking about it.
Oh, I was gonna say, you know what's actually what's actually funny is that this kind of has a PTSD effect for Ubisoft, particularly because of Watch Dogs. Because, man, people want to see the gameplay of it because you do not want to get duped again, like you did with Watch Dogs or Division, where they showed you bullshit until you actually see the game. I mean, not to say Division looked bad, but Watch Dogs definitely.
Compared to the original trailer of the Division, though, I completely understand because we were duped, man. Like like I said, not saying that it was bad. Like graphically, it was still good, but like all the bullet holes ripping through the cement, the cars and everything else. It was not that.
Well, and I will say, just kind of going off of that, like the Division, like technically the gameplay itself was correct, but like you're right, like they definitely toned it down compared to their original showing. And Watch Dogs is similar. Like technically when they showed off the gameplay, like that was the actual gameplay, but then as well, like that game got technically toned down. And I think Watch Dogs, the first one, its biggest problem, as a person who, you know, owned it and played it and stuff, like I just felt like the moment to moment stuff, there was too much of a gap between like the excitement that especially that first trailer, that I like vividly remember, of the guy like racing in the car and he's like disabling the stoplights as he's going to kind of crash like other things and stuff, like that didn't happen enough or too often, which kind of led to people to think that that was the problem, or that was the issue with that game. But I feel that, you know, the one good thing, if I have to say anything out of it, besides the games, because we've already talked about it, we like the games. I like a lot of those games, and I'm with you on Scarlet Nexus. Like I can't wait to see more of that game. But it is the consumer is like ready to call game developers out on these factors, on these things. Like consumers are no longer going to just sit idly by and like kind of game developers get away with this stuff, which is good. That's a great thing to come out of it. We can go more in depth on that here in a little bit, but I kind of want to go into the next thing real quick because we did touch on this. But just you guys got to watch the Ghost of Tsushima State of Play. Obviously, I watched it and put out a video on it as well. Just overall, let's kind of just talk about that game. So I kind of want you guys to discuss real quick, what is your overall sentiments or hype going into it, and then just at the end of the day, what is your guys' thoughts on the call to do a State of Play specifically on that game versus what Sony had done prior to it? Hatsuma, if you want to start first, go ahead.
One, the game looks awesome. I mean, there are certain elements that look familiar per se, especially the calls to Breath of the Wild and such, but I loved it. I loved it. And the main reason why is the atmosphere, the music, the art style. Like, even with the combat, I know a lot of people like to compare it to Assassin's Creed, and that's fine. That's fair, but like when you actually consider the samurai combat and such, a lot of the encounters are very short. Like, it doesn't feel like a mess, so to say. What else do I love about that trailer? Darsay, I mean, let's be honest, the game looks gorgeous. Like, it looks gorgeous straight out. God, man. That game spoke to me, bro. The best way to put it spoke to me. I'm a huge fan of old samurai movies like Daruichi, The Wandering Samurai. It's fun. Dude, when he showed the black and white mode, I was I was going wow. That black and white, yeah, that black and white mode was brilliant.
All right.
I love the fact that.
I'm going to have Kyle jump in here because I know right away that his thoughts are different because of us having discussion on it. So, Kyle, you actually held off on giving me your full thoughts on it because of this discussion. You were like, I'm going to save it for this. I don't know if you still remember everything. But, Kyle, give me your thoughts on Ghost of Tsushima and what you saw in the state of play.
I agree with Hat on the atmosphere, the art, the sound and whatnot. That's all good. I do really like the ghost mode of it, like where you're actually legit assassin like. But overall though, me personally, because I know how I am, it's not a game for me. I didn't really like the samurai combat part of it. Because it looked like the old Assassin's Creed type. And I know Hat said that people are talking about that, and that's one of my issues about it.
Yeah, it's a fair comparison.
The characters, like the AI, repeating the same things over and over again, like it sounds like they copied and pasted, which is an easy way to get through things, and I get that for developers and stuff. But the open world aspect of it is going to kill that game for me because the fact that I cannot finish an open world to save my life. I finished GTA, but there's so much that you could do in it. I feel like I'm missing out on things, and I know people tell me all the time, just power through it, just go through that main story. But I feel like I'm missing out on some kind of secret side thing that can connect to the story, or some items that I can help me through later on in the stories and stuff like that. I just feel like I miss out on things if I don't, and then I get bored, and then I drop it, and then I can never play it. Like, I just cannot beat it. I still haven't been able to beat Red Dead because of that. I said, okay, fine, I'm just gonna go through the story, and there I go. There I go off the. I'm supposed to go straight. I went left. Like I get those issues where I cannot finish these games. Like I said, atmosphere, sound, the art style. I get that it looks great. Like I said, the assassin mode is what I feel like Assassin's Creed always should have been. I've never been a fan of Assassin's Creed.
God, yes.
But that's what I feel like, that if there's a way to get that game, and if it was more tailored to giving me a story, like straight, like I know, like as I said before, open worlds become a big part of what we have now because people love it. But it takes a lot of these games that look like I could possibly enjoy away from my library because of the fact that I know I'm not going to finish it. I'm not going to spend money on something I'm not going to be able to finish or complete because I know what's going to happen.
Yeah, so basically for you need something more linear.
I do, and like, don't get me wrong. Like, for example, God of War is linear, and it had a moment where it becomes more open. You could do different paths and stuff.
Yeah,
but it wasn't to the extent. But it wasn't to the extent that it's like so many damn things that pop up. Like, you could still trail on to the story, and a lot of it still had to do with what was going on. Like, it kept you through. But I also love mythology, so that helps me a lot. But yeah, essentially though, the open world aspect of it gives me an issue. The Assassin's Creed combat gives me an issue. For the most part, though, art, everything else, spot on for sure.
So Kyle, before you step away and before I have Hatsuma come back in, on the other side of it though, so you talked about obviously what your thoughts are on the game, what you saw, but in general, what is your overall thoughts on Sony's decision to do a state of play just on that game, 18 minutes in out, only on that?
I'm okay with that, especially if you're promoting certain games like this, because this is a game that is pretty high. Like, it's been talked about. People are looking forward to seeing what this is about and wanted to see a good, in-depth gameplay of what this is, going to entail. And it's really good on this part because it's kind of Sony's way. It's like, all right, we saw what you guys did, and it's a good kind of backfire on Xbox to say, hey, we're going to give you a gameplay of our game. But now I do got a question though. This is coming out. Is this gen as well though, right?
Correct. It is specifically right now. It is just this gen.
That's where I do have to say though is the fact that because it is coming out for this gen, this game is more ready to be shown like that, where other games may not be completely as on par where they want to give you that kind of showing because the fact that they just don't have everything what they want to, the way they want it to actually present it.
Okay, I have to interject real quick on that though. And Hatsuma, sorry Kyle, I'm gonna have Hatsuma kind of follow up off of that. Is my thought or my stance on that though is the next gen is it is in 6 months roughly. Let's just say it's in November. It is in 6 months. If you don't have a demonstration at least of gameplay for that, do you realistically have a game that's going to be able to come out in 6 months? Because 6 months does not have, or that's not a lot of time for game developers. I mean, it's good enough to like fine tune things and finish things out and stuff. But if you think about how long these games are being made nowadays, that is not enough time. If you were telling me that a game developer doesn't have something to show of game-wise for a next-gen console that comes out in 6 months.
I get that and understand that, but if you look at previous gens and stuff like that, upon releases, it's kind of been the same issue on each gen, because you get in this very awkward middle stage where it's easy to promote what's coming out now, and it's easier to give you little tidbits of things that's coming out for next gen, because it's just, I don't know if it's because they're not as I'm not saying they're not prepared completely, but it's just not fine-tuned. There's a lot of stuff you could fine-tune months. I mean, not major things, obviously. And like you said, there should be able to be a little bit of something. And but it's been a common occurrence throughout the new releases of next gens.
Hatsuma, what's your thoughts? Go from there.
Well, me personally, a lot of these games, like say for example, a lot of the games that they brought up at the showcase, they're due for either the end of this year or the beginning of next. Honestly, you should have something that can be, if you promote it for gameplay, again, that was Microsoft's show. They know exactly what they were getting. So when the people are talking about, well, they can't control what was shown, it's like, but they can control what they show on their show. Like,
yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. They could have easily have looked at some of that stuff and said like, hey, like we'll post it on our Twitter or whatever, but like this isn't gameplay, so we're not going to put it in the gameplay showcase.
Yeah. And the thing is, comparison to old, that's a fair point. But the problem is that your consumer base has grown. Like, your consumer base has grown, so you can't rely on the same tactics that you did before.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of erroneous, like, we can show you middling titles or demonstrations, and it's fine. that's unacceptable now. Like the current gamers want more, especially these are games again that are due for the end of this year, the middle point of this year, or the beginning of next. You had, like you said, Darsay, 6 months. You had 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
You can show me something.
And
Like, don't even give me CG, bro. Like, if anything, I would have been fine if it was just trailers or anything of actual game.
yeah, I mean, go. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No,
The fact that you just sent me CG is still like, why? We are past that.
yeah. Yeah, I just like going off of that. It's I get what Kyle is saying when you are having this change between this current gen and next gen. You're bound to have some issues of just like what can and can't be shown, and like where are games in their development cycle and things of that nature. But I still feel at the very least you can show off gameplay that, yes, it might be a game that's also going to come out for current gen, which is of course what was shown basically at the Xbox showcase. And like right now I'm showing the Scarlet Nexus stuff is, this is a game that is coming out for, current gen and next gen. Like it's already been announced that way. But like you can still show off some gameplay like Scarlet Nexus did. In my opinion, again, like, some people are going to say when they look at this, well, this wasn't actual gameplay if you're going to compare it to Ghost of Tsushima. I'm not, saying that they have to do a full-on demonstration like that, but, still show what is it going to look like if I'm controlling my character and I'm doing, battles. And, like, what's about to happen actually here for my, viewers is you're going to see, like, the main character, they're going to show the camera behind him and he's moving forward and doing damage like he's doing right now. Like, this is still gameplay. Show this. And in the other games that you're showing off, just show a little bit of this. And if some of those games aren't ready to do that, then don't include it and show a different game that maybe is already out or whatever on an Xbox, One, and put clearly on the bottom, like, here's gameplay of this same game on Xbox Series X. So then that way you still are like, oh yeah, it's not the graphical leap that we had from, the PS1 to the PS2 or the PS2 to the PS3 or, Xbox to Xbox 360. You're not going to have that graphical leap, but you're at least still getting to see what the gameplay is of these new games or whatever is going to be coming out on the Xbox Series X. And that's where I just felt like with Sony's showcase of the Ghost of Tsushima is, yes, it's not current gen, or it's not next gen, so I'm not trying to compare that aspect together. But what I am just comparing is they announced you're going to see gameplay. And this was gameplay. Like, they showed gameplay, and that's
18 minutes of it.
Yeah, and that's just like what I'm trying to compare is that that comparison is Sony did the right move of, hey, we're going to show you 18 minutes of the game and deep dive and gameplay, and it's like, okay, like it set us up for that, and that's just kind of my 2 cents on that comparison is just. I know we already talked about it earlier, but just again, you have to be clear with your marketing messages moving forward. And that's the one thing that's really nice about what kind of came out of the Xbox Series X thing is, again, people are not going to let it slide. At least it seems.
No, especially when you're hyped for, as you said, Assassin's Creed. And you don't get the gameplay that you saw in the PlayStation for Ghost. I mean, that's what you're hoping for.
Yeah. So real quick to kind of wrap this discussion up, I want to go to our kind of final thoughts or sentiments that we had discussed. And that was just essentially the overall hype that you guys have for next gen or for like the games that are coming out here in the near future. Obviously right now, we all know because of the coronavirus pandemic, there is no E3. And so a lot of these companies that had announcements and stuff are adjusting with, like Summer Game Fest and, of course, Xbox doing this thing, and they're going to be having another one in July. Ubisoft is in August, if I remember correctly. PlayStation hasn't announced theirs, but it's rumored to be June 4th or at least early June. So I guess whoever wants to start it, where do you feel your hype is currently for the next gen content and reveals that are on the horizon?
I'll kind of start out here. For next gen, I kind of split it up in both Xbox, PlayStation. See, Xbox, I because of the rumors of the Fable coming out and certain games like that coming out, Perfect Dark, I'm really stoked and hyped to see what that's gonna bring to us. To see what they've been able to develop as new exclusives. I want to see what new exclusives they can bring in this next gen to draw me towards the Xbox. Because last gen, I bought both, but ended up just on a PS4. Ended up selling my Xbox just because there just was not enough. There was not enough to give, and I feel with the new Xbox, I'm hoping to get that what we've been missing, and I'm hoping Fable doesn't fail, obviously, because their last game they came out was a complete flop, and that was a that was a bad route for them. And then PlayStation 5, I mean, there's some exclusives I'm excited for, like God of War. I'm hoping for a second one, obviously, to come out with that because I can't wait for that story to continue. Horizon 2, Godfall, I'm interested to see what it is. For over expect Hellblade and stuff. It's just, but still, PlayStation, I'm still kind of because marketing wise, I'm still kind of just even keel with the PlayStation side, just because they haven't given us a whole lot of anything other than what I would call a Mad Catz PlayStation controller that you would give to your cousin that you don't care if it breaks. But but Xbox marketing has given me more to be hyped about in the next gen. I'm hyped though overall because of just hearing what's in these new consoles and the power that they're going to give, the speed with the SSDs. That alone is hype for the new consoles.
Hatsuma, how about yourself? What is your overall thoughts or sentiments heading into this next gen?
I have similar sentiments. I think consumer-wise, especially that Microsoft has done a better job at communicating, at demonstrating, at least. Like, this is a marketing mishap, but I think overall they have a better job. But for some reason, because I brought this up before, I think we had a discussion about it, whereas the marketing metrics, what can we only go by? We can only go by social media, which Sony is dominating at, or marketing, or like sales, which we don't know yet. So from the consumer perspective, I love what Microsoft has been doing, because in that regard, you're seeing next-gen features set, you're hearing about specs, and you're seeing a lot of games. It's funny, discussing about the lack of gameplay. But we're seeing games from them, whereas Sony hasn't made a move, but for some reason, that is playing out so well for the mystique of the PS5. Like, everyone is talking about it so much more because we finally want to know what the fuck this thing looks like.
I'm worried. I am worried.
Yeah, Kyle, I know you've been extremely worried and stuff, but I'm gonna so I'll give my quick sense, but I do want to on another iteration of this go more in depth on the different thought processes from you guys, of course, on the marketing strategies from both hands. But I think it's hard, of course, not to be hyped about next gen, and I think Kyle hit the nail on the head when we were talking about the Xbox showcase of anything you reveal currently is going to be overhyped just because everyone is so excited for information. What's coming? What's going on?
Yeah.
What is this thing like? What is it, as you talked about? What does this look like? What does that look like? How do they compare? And we already know like the inside specs of both, but people just want this information. And I think that's kind of where the sentiment that, I come from. Just using like a little anecdote, of course, like I have, my PS4, my Switch, my, gaming PC that I just built a year ago. And I already told, my wife, hey, we're going to be getting at least one of the new consoles. And every time she, I say that to her, she just kind of looks at me, rolls her eyes and goes, but we already have so much. And it's like, but it's that kind of hype it's the new generation. You don't know what it's going to be like, and again, using another anecdote, this sounds terrible, but I'm going to talk about it real quick, is, when the PS4 released, I was, of course, extremely hyped for the PS4, that I literally was $2 away from maxing out my credit card to buy the PS4 pre-order. And I think that, that's kind of where my hype is. Now, of course, I'm much more responsible with my money because I'm not in college and I, have money to do. But it's like at that time, like I think with every generation, you just get so hyped because it is the unknown. It's the what are we about to experience? What's coming? And even if the games aren't fully ready at release, to take full advantage of what is coming, it's the fact of having that in your hands and seeing the growth, in my opinion at least. Where do the games go from the first release to, as time goes on, how much of these developers learn working with these new consoles that it's hard not to get super hyped about.
And I get, like, upon release, like, there's always the issue of not enough release games, but let's be real, we could only play one game at a time. Like, if I went the Xbox route, Halo, I was probably spending a lot of my time on, but what's nice is knowing that there's games like Yakuza and stuff supposed to be not necessarily a launch title, but it's somewhere within that launch, area.
No, it's a launch title.
But right there shows you got two different options. You want to go your shooter type route, Halo story, or you want to go your Yakuza way, and it gives you an option, which is nice. But throwing too many games all at once, it's always hard because then you're like, man, I don't have enough money. I just bought this console. There's just too much. I'm going to be playing this game too much and stuff like that. But it's a lot of hype, man. I'm excited. And I said previously that, with me having this PC now, I could save money this year because I don't really need to get a new console. But then I started thinking of exclusives that I'll be missing out on maybe. It's like, oh, man. Like, there's that hype again. Like, man, like I have to kind of buy a PlayStation because God of War, if that comes out, and I love God of War and can't help it, but do I really want to shell out that money just to play one game? So it's a lot of back and forth, but the initial hype, it's insane.
Hatsuma, your final thoughts.
My final thoughts, I'm extremely hyped because, dude, not only is it the next gen, but it's the fact that it's so much new tech that the leap, like seeing the Twitter responses and seeing like video analysis from either YouTube tech heads or actual developers, engineers, like having access to so much information, I can't have no choice but to be like extremely hyped of what is potentially possible. Finally, we are getting done with the what's the hard disk drive?
Yeah.
And finally, we are designing specifically for SSD, and not only SSD, but super fast SSD. So the type of games that can be made is mind-blowing. Like, the potential possibilities are just insane. I think that's why I'm more excited about this gen, like transitioning from PS4 to PS5 now was from PS4 to PS3 to PS4.
Yeah,
Because
and
it
go
is
ahead,
so
finish.
much. Yeah, I was just gonna say it's such a bigger leap in the actual technology in the system.
That's where that hype is, and coming from, you know, two guys that do play on PC, I'm telling you, man, once you get that SSD, it's a
Oh
world of
yeah,
difference. And especially because like Dar knows, my previous SSD crapped out on me, so I was just playing on my normal hard drive that I have just to hold games
and
that's
you
not
can't
as
go back.
demanding. And it's a world difference, man. Like it's insane of
Yeah.
like how much of a difference that SSD makes in your system.
Oh yeah, it's it makes a
Oh yeah.
world of a difference.
Yeah. And the thing is, like up until now, you guys have been benefiting of the side value of the fact that it increases your load time. Imagine what they can do now with the fact that it's built, like the games are being built off of that system. That is the part that's like mind blowing. And that's why like texture streaming, all of that is crazy. It's funny. John Carmack, if you think about it, like think about that Unreal Tech demo, John Carmack is a visionary because what they did in that tech demo of streaming, all those textures, all those assets, and all that from the SSD, John Carmack was experimenting with texture streaming since fucking Rage. And that's back on the 360 and the
Mm-hmm.
PS3. So imagine now. Like, man, I can't wait to see an id Tech game.
Hmm.
Because this is what you've been, like, this is what he's been waiting for. He already applied a lot of this old tech, or this old philosophies, I should say. He already applied that old philosophies years ago. And now Unreal Engine is catching up. Whereas they're like, oh man, we gotta get on this too. Now we're gonna do mega textures, or in the Unreal case, I guess ultra textures, all that shit. Like all this unknown is so much of an unknown because it took so long for SSDs to get adopted into the actual development pipeline. It's nuts.
Yeah,
Nuts. I'm very excited about next.
yeah. I'm very excited as well, and so I'm gonna actually have us stop the conversation there because on the next one, I do want to kind of talk about again, as I said, the different marketing strategies, but I also do want to kind of talk more about that the tech demo for Unreal Engine 5 and just kind of like, you know, the thoughts of where you guys, you know, kind of can see games taking that and kind of moving forward. But again, I want to thank, you know, Kyle, Hatsuma. Thank you guys so much for jumping on the
No
start of
problem.
it.
Thanks for
Uh,
having me.
the first iteration of it, and I hope you guys enjoy it as well. So let me know in the comments kind of your thoughts on the discussions that we had so far. What did you think about the Xbox showcase? What did you think about Ghost of Tsushima and the different terms of gameplay? You know, again, we're going to be looking to do these more in the future. So, of course, let me know if you would like more by giving it a thumbs up. And again, if you haven't, hit that subscribe button and consider hitting the bell notification so you'll be notified of every time that I post. But once again, thank you guys all for tuning in here to Press Start. And as always, remember, your gaming news starts right here.